Got that on pause. Okay. It's 9:31. We got a minute. We can give it another minute. We're a little light right now. Yeah, just folks, if you would, okay, uh, it's coming in. It's here. Uh, uh, I should call you Huey.
It's okay. You can call me Alex.
Okay, sure. Okay, if everyone would put their affiliate in next to the name, that'd be great. Hi, Ted, Ramona, Sue. Starting to fill up here. Well, while we're waiting, I'm going to start the record, and we'll go through some updates and let's see. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Uh, my name's John Mudd. I'm the Midtown South chair for this meeting. I'm so happy to have you all here. Uh, Let me just get our agenda up, and we'll just kind of briefly go over the plan for the day. Um, so I don't know if we're going to get to Sam Stein's article, but right now we have a big discussion on Stewart Hotel, and we have some activist groups that's coming here looking for some support for their letter to Mamdani. Uh, we have several letters. A lot of folks are writing letters, want to get the attention of our mayor. We're fighting for public housing. Public housing is being threatened. They want to give it over to the developers. And we're having a tough time. We're fighting in the streets, and we're fighting in the courts. And a lot of activists are getting involved. So we're trying to protect people's homes. Um, it's a good fight. Um, our purpose here, of course, is to identify the problems and solutions to end homelessness and housing and our health crisis. There's no policy meeting going on right now. We haven't really latched on to a policy, although something's brewing, and maybe next month we'll solidify a policy to push through. Special introductions. Alex, do you have anything on Wesna or anything you want to announce or in apartment warehousing?
No, not really. Just that my building, the building I live in, has a recent regulatory agreement that says warehousing is not allowed. So I was very surprised and happy to see that.
Oh, great. Okay, so we need some board members and committee members, and so if you think you might be a candidate, want to get involved a little bit more, let me know. Um, so far, there's two cases. There's two pending here cases on public housing that is we're waiting for judges' decisions. We all work to try to do a TRO, emergency intervention, basically, to protect the tenants. That was denied, but the cases are still pending. Uh, One case is about, to give it a little context, one case is about um, uh, the right of putting private development on public land, and there's three other items under the so-called, it's a 402B uh, uh, legislation, or you got that? Great. And then the other case, I don't really remember. Um, there's a coalition for the homeless and Wi-Fi for the homeless campaign. Make sure if you haven't seen this, please check it out, support it. Um, we're asking for legislation to ensure internet access to individuals residing in temporary housing. I've experienced back in the pandemic when they put everyone into hotels. I was amazed because the hotels are outfitted with, of course, internet, and they didn't. People who were staying in the hotels uh, did not have access to internet. And that was a real hardship for them. I did some work with some of the hotels, bring some programs, health programs, whatever, and some other initiatives. I had one person come in and run a addiction program. Another person did a health and also resume and job uh, program. Um, so uh, right now, we're going to be talking about the Stewart Hotel's adaptive reuse. They've taken Stewart Hotel, which is a beautiful hotel. I've been inside of it, and they're transforming into housing, supportive housing. If I'm not mistaken, Amie, you can always jump in here and correct me. Um, So it's a former hotel, and it's going to have 579 portable apartments. And this could be a pathway to doing a more transformative, uh, transforming more hotels into housing, hopefully. And um, and we'll leave it at that. Um, is there anybody have any updates or announcements they want to take a few minutes out?
Not really. I just want to say that what I've noticed is that people are on permission mute. So there's a button that says ask to unmute. I don't know why it says that. So I guess if you're having trouble unmuting yourself, try to, or maybe just throw something into the chat saying, I would like to unmute myself, but I can't, or something like that. But I have the ability to unmute anybody, but I don't know why it says that. All right. Thanks.
Great. And if everybody would put their affiliate in next to their name, that would be really great. So it's good to have everybody know who you are. We don't, we usually jam pack this meeting, and it's hard to go around and introduce ourselves, although it's always quite nice when we have a lighter group. Um, Again, my name's John Mudd, and I appreciate everybody being here. And your faces would be nice too. I notice a lot of people without their cameras on. Um, we're all friends here, and we're all come here with the same thing in mind. I hopefully. Anyway, let's start with our main topic or our main guest. Actually, Amie, do you have any time constraints?
Just no, not really.
Okay, I think Safe Section 9 is here, and they're going to be, it's going to be a little shorter conversation. And if I put them on, then we can have the rest of the time for you. We can devote it to you.
Great.
I see Madison here. Hi, Madison. Good to have you. It was nice meeting
Hi.
you. Yeah. Is
Yeah, good to
Ramona?
see you again.
Yeah, Ramona's here.
Yes.
Okay. There she is. Hi, Ramona. How are you? Okay, if you would, if I guess you both are here and will be speaking, if you can kind of introduce yourself and talk about your letter and what your purpose is, and we'll go from there. Mona, you want to start?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. So my name is Ramona, and I am a tenant of Mitchell Houses, part of NYCHA in the South Bronx, and the founder of Safe Section 9. Safe Section 9 is a coalition that works to empower public housing tenants to advocate for their homes, stopping the privatization and the demolition of public housing. Um, I will pass it on to Madison so that she can introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Madison. I am a public housing ally. I've been working with Save Section 9 for about a year and a half. And yeah, I see a few people that were in the meeting last week as well. So good to see you all again. And we're excited to introduce this letter to you. Um, I can share my screen if somebody is able to give me permission so we can
Um,
follow
I
along.
I think you're already, let me just double check here. I think,
Oh, I got it.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ramona.
Yeah. So I'll review the letter. Or do you guys think that it's worth reading through it? I can slide down and chat or
Maybe
read the
take the high
letter.
points. Yeah, they take the
Okay.
high points and briefly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the two primary groups that worked on this letter are Safe Section 9 and the Residents to Preserve Public Housing. And RPPH is the largest group of public housing tenants and allies in New York City, while Safe Section 9 is national. We started the letter by highlighting the mayor's housing platform and specific promises that he made regarding how he would interact with public housing. So we took the angle of making recommendations so that his platform would be better. It is very clear to us that the mayor has a very limited understanding of public housing. He hasn't really made relationships with tenants at the developments that were in his district when he was at the state level. And in the meeting that he had with RPPH, he was repeatedly surprised by the facts that folks were sharing regarding Section 9 public housing. So that's the overall, I would say, framework of the letter. We then talk about how harmful project-based Section 8 is, which is privatization, and it's done in New York City via 3 different programs, RAD, PAC, and the Public Housing Preservation Trust. So we mentioned some of the facts that make those programs undesirable and make an argument for why those should not be the path that he takes. Unfortunately, in the last meeting that the tenants over at Fulton, Elliott, and Chelsea had with folks on his team, um, members of his housing team and his transitional committee on housing are not friendly to public housing. And I think that that's really important to understand. Um, Dina Levi is actually part of the masterminds that created the privatization of public housing. And Sia Weaver, who runs I think it's called like the tenant something office. I can't remember the name of it right now. We've had a history with her for like the last 7 years in which she has repeatedly undermined public housing and pushed for the privatization of public housing while wanting to build social housing. And their vision for social housing is not something that most working class New Yorkers would qualify for. The minimum income for that social housing would actually be $65,000 based on the bill that they've actually produced for Albany. And Zoran is someone that was very excited about this vision of social housing. So we don't support the version that they are trying to push here in New York. Another thing to uh, note is that HUD itself is encouraging housing authorities to no longer depend on project-based Section 8 and has also made cuts to Section 8. This administration and the Secretary of HUD are not fans of Section 8 and how the program works and how expensive it is. So then you find yourself asking then where are we supposed to live, right? If you need truly affordable housing. And we argue that the answer is Section 9 public housing. The first recommendation that we make to him is that he should switch the money that he wants to allocate to NYCHA from capital expenses to what's called the expenses account. And that's important because during privatization, funding under capital expenses is used to fix things like the boiler, the elevator, piping, and the grounds. but capital monies that come to public housing cannot be used to remediate actual apartments. So what's been happening is that while buildings are being rehabbed with big capital projects, units are sitting without repairs. So the expenses account is where the money would have to go in order to start fixing the units. We're asking that they actually add someone with lived experience in Section 9 to that transitional housing committee so that Section 9 would have representation. We're asking that he support the repeal of the stock transfer tax rebate, which brings $2 to $3.75 billion annually to NYCHA specifically, but it also brings money to public housing throughout New York State. And then we're asking for a new organizational plan. The one written in 2020 is what shifted NYCHA from being a property manager to being a real estate developer of sorts, and allows them to privatize public housing at a faster speed. We have been asking for a while for a forensic audit of NYCHA. We're finding that NYCHA is actually allocating billions of dollars towards the developments and the buildings that are being privatized under those three programs, while not allocating monies to the developments that are remaining public. We are looking for him to focus on hiring folks that are plumbers, carpenters, and building porters when he talks about filling empty job roles at NYCHA. Because what has happened in the past is that when we ask NYCHA to hire more people, they hire people at the management level and above. So it's very top heavy, but we don't have skilled tradesmen and women to actually do the repairs that need to happen. One of the things that he's talked about and that everyone loves to mention is the Faircloth Amendment, which limits how many units of public housing each housing authority can have. And what we have right now is an allowance of 24,000 units, which means that because NYCHA has been privatizing units, we now can replace those units. So if he wanted to absorb this hotel that's being converted into housing and turn that into public housing so that those tenants have the benefits, the rights, and the privileges of those of us in public housing, he could do that tomorrow, right? Because we have an allowance to do it. And our argument is that instead of building social housing or creating more affordable housing, we should be expanding public housing. We're asking for education for tenants and elected officials, and we have a strategy, which we do this by holding teach-ins, movie screenings, and actually distributing educational materials. And then finally, we have been working the last couple of years with the Committee on Public Housing, building a case for the moratorium on privatization. So this would mean that until there is an impact study that has already been designed by Congresswoman Maxine Waters, and we want the Governmental Accountability Office, the GAO, to actually run the impact study, we would stop any further conversions or demolitions. So this would be really helpful to Fulton, Elliott, Chelsea, and other properties that are in the beginning stages of privatization or demolition. We mentioned the fire at Boston Secor because it's an evidence of the failure of PAC management and how it puts tenants at risk. We remind him that we want the moratorium. We ask for a meeting and we offer our teaching specifically for his staffers, right? So the folks that are working on housing in the administration, but I would hope that he would at least watch our 3-minute video because I feel like he needs as much education as they do on public housing. And then we have a list of organizations that have already signed on. So we're here today asking for further support. That's the end of the presentation. And then Madison and I are here to answer any questions that folks have.
Very nice, Ramona. You can drop that, uh, that visual down so we can see your face.
And I'll drop the link in the chat.
Yeah.
In case folks want to scroll up to anything else. Below the organizations that are signing on are the folks that are going to be receiving the letter.
Yeah, cool.
And then our attachments.
Cool, very good. Rob Robinson, who's our friend, of course, and participant here. Dina Levy was one of his most excited. We haven't heard what you said about Dina Levy, and I know there's been some controversy over Sia, but I don't know what her stance is as of today. We do know that Lila, I think it's Lila Borgia, his right hand man or woman. She's actively supporting, the conversion to Brad Pack. Social housing. You can drop this video, of course.
Yeah, Rob and
Just
I are
share.
part of
Yeah.
the National Low Income Housing Coalition
Mhm.
member cohort together.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I know Rob really well.
Okay.
I think one thing is that a lot of people that are coming in and have been at the federal government and under de Blasio, a lot of them came from the Obama administration and these circles. And it is Obama that created the pathway to PAC and RAD. And that's why they all support the program. They have this warped sense of commitment to
Ramona,
the
can you
idea.
can you stop the share?
Yeah.
So we can, there we go. Okay, go ahead, continue. Okay. I'm sorry, you were saying, Ramona?
No, I'm just saying like a lot of people that come out of the Obama school of thought for PAC and RAD are really committed to this idea of project-based Section 8 being the solution. And they
Yeah.
romanticize the program and have ignored the harm that it's been causing since it was created.
Right. The social housing idea, I think public housing could be the idea of social housing. I mean, it's got the framework to build upon. I kind of confused as to why they want to look at social housing completely separate. But that's an argument that's been going back and forth. HUD cuts, by the way, just to let you know,
I'll add something on social housing
uh-huh.
before we go to
Sure.
to HUD. So I dropped the one pager that we made, which is an analysis of the bill in New York State for social housing. And social housing is a copy of public housing. It tries to provide the same rental guidelines, some of the same rights, some of the same benefits. But what it does, because of its income limitation, is that it keeps out half of the individuals that qualify for public housing. So someone like myself that lives below the poverty level would never be admitted into social housing. So in our opinion, it's actually racist and classist, the way that it's currently being defined.
Yeah. I think I agree with that completely. They've cut apparently the HUD's been cut so badly that they want to funnel most of the control up at the federal level. I don't know if you knew anything about that, but this we had during our legal committee meeting yesterday. We, a lawyer brought it up. He's been really deeply involved in the environmental aspects of all these proposals. The City of Yes and the Midtown South mixed use, and then of course the public housing. But I think he's more focused on public housing to be correct here. To correct myself here. The Stock Transferred Act is a great thing. I think we've been supporting that. We've supported that from from the onset. And then, and I think that's a good way to help fund it, fund the projects. Not I didn't mean it as the projects, but I mean as, to fund uh, public housing and all these other things that they're looking to fund through the Stock Transfer Act.
And I also dropped an analysis that the National Low Income Housing Coalition just
Mhm.
did on the spending bill that came out for transportation and HUD.
uh,
And it includes a nice analysis and chart.
okay,
We tend
great.
to, instead of like having to analyze the whole thing ourselves, we tend to start with their analysis and then we look specifically at the public housing pieces.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think what you've done here is brought more policy into focus, which is really good. And the you mentioned something about working residents. That's always been in the public housing, but they don't use it, right? Am I correct? I know you highlighted it here. You
In like
having
hiring.
Yes.
So under his plan, he wanted to fill all of the roles that are empty at NYCHA. But when we took this up to Residents to Preserve Public Housing, took that up to Albany a couple years ago, and we were able to get some funds to hire folks, but instead of hiring skilled tradespeople and union um, labor, they went with higher management. So this time we want to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Mm,
Right now, one of the rights that we have, or one of the benefits that we have, is we can actually be given preferential hiring treatment by unions in New York City through an agreement that the housing authority has. So we constantly get emails and updates telling us this union is looking for this type of employee. If you're interested, contact this person. And the unions will create or have created apprenticeships, which public housing tenants qualify for and can go through in order to secure the jobs. And then whenever
mhm,
there is a construction project going on site at your projects, you can actually be hired for that project. So
yeah,
those are all rights that anyone living in public housing has. And I would say like hiring folks on site is very inconsistent. My development is pretty good at it. So we have some folks that are part of like the plumbers union or the carpenters or the painters, and they do get hired here. And then we have one guy that every time there's construction and they need someone to like watch the area, he gets it every time. Other projects are not as good at it. So it is inconsistent, but in the charter for NYCHA, it's one of the benefits that we get as part of public housing.
mhm. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Anybody have any questions for Madison or Ramona? Madison, it was a good presentation you did. Yes. Was it yesterday? Yeah.
On Friday. Not as
On
good as
Friday.
Ramona's.
No, you guys make a good team. Um, um,
A
uh,
question, John,
Go ahead, Alan.
for Ramona and anybody who was in that meeting. Thank you for, the debrief. It sounds, I don't want to assume too much, but it sounds like the mayor was honest about, you know, being unaware of certain facts and not, pretending to know. So what was like your overall take on that, like how he was really, his like your sentiment towards his reactions?
Um, the tenants were really frustrated. Queensbridge is one of the biggest developments and like historically important developments in New York City, and he has no relationship with the tenant leadership there, which was really shocking to everyone. Um, he kept saying, there were just so many other things going on in the district that he just didn't um develop those relationships, and folks felt like that was really disappointing. So the tenants are very concerned that he is going to follow the recommendations of the housing folks that he's put in place. And like I said, these folks are not supportive of public housing. Um, and that is really worrying everyone. Which is why we wanted to make sure that we got this letter in, early in his administration, and that we started with Councilmember Chris Banks and others that are allies, really trying to bring him up to date and making sure that he understands that, as a democratic socialist, public housing should be, something that you're fighting for, right? So like this, I wasn't in the meeting that FEC had with Layla, right? Layla and Sia, but you know, talking to Renee on Saturday about it, it was really confusing as a democratic socialist myself to hear that his administration wants to support moving forward the demolition of Fulton, Elliott, and Chelsea. Like it just doesn't, the math doesn't math, right? Like if you have values that state that, public goods should be for public good and that public land should be for public good, how do you justify being okay with destroying public housing and destroying a community of folks that should be what DSA advocates for? We've had many tense moments with DSA leadership, and DSA has been very disappointing when it comes to diversity, both ethnic and financial. And they've also been very disappointing when it comes to public housing. We attempted a couple years ago to at their uh, conference or charter, I can't remember what it was called, because I left the organization, to have them adopt a resolution to ensure that DSA would forever protect public housing. And SIA was instrumental in stopping that. So the tenants are very worried and very saddened. And I know I can't speak for Renee, but I can't imagine what it feels like, watching his campaign and voting for him, and then sitting in a room with people representing him and hearing that they're supporting the destruction of your homes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something for us to definitely have a conversation with him. I think we're all seeking that. And maybe I hope you're right. Maybe it's more about educating the administration on a deeper level. I really do hope that's the case. We know that the developers have a strong hand in what's as far as legislation goes. I don't think I'm saying anything new here. We've been exploring that issue for a while now. Any last questions before we need to move on to our next agenda item? Any other pressing questions anyone have? Madison, any last words from you? Okay, and Ramona, any last words?
I'll drop our contact information, and anyone that wants to sign on to the letter can email us, hopefully by tomorrow, so that we can go ahead and start publishing.
Yeah, and please spread it around. I see John Layla's hands up. John?
I just have a quick question because I had a class with Renee and it was fascinating. And every time I hear this stuff, I learn new stuff. Thank you, John. And thank you, the presenters, because this has been amazing and just learning all the things. But I want to know is how can we help people that don't live in NYCHA, how can we help your cause? Because I really believe in what you're doing, but I don't know how to help, to be honest.
Okay, it's a good question.
Yeah, that's an amazing question. I think the one thing that folks can do is write an email to, the first step would be like write an email to your city council member to your state representatives, and then to your federal representatives. And then we have ways that you can get involved at events like door knocking and events like movie nights, right? So like you can volunteer your time, you can contact your elected officials, or you can make donations. We are completely self-funded, and none of us get paid at Safe Section 9. So we spend our money on things like flyers, and like right now we're starting the fight at Isaac's houses, and printing for them 1,000 copies is $200, right? So like a very little amount of money can help us develop the materials and spread the materials necessary to educate the tenants and the elected officials. But if you send a notice, right, to your elected officials saying, hey, I am not a member of public housing, but I wish I was. And I think that it's important for us to keep it. I think that that speaks to the fact that everyone should be in public housing. Like all of you should have rent that is 30% of your income.
Yeah.
Imagine your lives if you did.
Yeah. John, I think what people need to realize is that and I believe you do. I know you. This is a very important battle here. It's not just about public housing. It's about taking the landscapes and making housing more of a commodity than what it is. It's taking the last remnants of any kind of affordability and turn it into a profit point for the developers. And that's it's very scary because we have no housing here. I mean, I live in a tenement building. The tenement building, the landlord's constantly trying to empty it out. It's a rent stabilized, rent controlled building. So this will reverberate very broadly, and it's just stripping down the public's assets. So we certainly need and this is why Amie is here, because she had transformed the hotel into housing, and that's supportive to folks. And we need more of that. So we're desperate for housing, and this here is a battle to be had. This is where we need to stop the developers encroaching on public housing. I mean, it's almost like a right. Guys, it's almost like if you could put all the residents and all the people who live in public housing, you've got a major, what somebody said, like a city, right? You've got enough people. The homeless always skyrockets during a lot of private development rather than we're not focusing at all on people's needs and when they use this AMI, I think it's just a very problematic. Rob has talked about using zip codes and other ways of doing it. We need to focus on people with $58,000 and lower, and with no income. I don't know where the battle is, but I think it's really being a part of this and coming out. And by the way, we are paying for lawyers, fighting for Elliot Chelsea and Fulton Elliott, and I think we have a comment here. It creates diversity too, a lot of diversity. I think we have a battle to be had with the public housing. And I'll stop right there because I'm just going on and babbling. Sorry, folks. I appreciate having you here, Madison. I appreciate having you here, Ramona. We do need funds for the legal fight. And here's a note here from Renee. Actually, she's on here. If Renee wants to speak, by all means, join us. But Borzog is a holdover from Adams' administration. He is not a surprise. Borzog is an architect of RAD. So that's really important to be understand.
John,
yes.
May I invite Ramona and Madison to hang out for just one more minute so I can tell a Sia Weaver story, very relevant Sia Weaver story.
Sure, right at this moment?
Mm-hmm.
Because, okay, we're at 10:11.
Yeah, yeah,
but go
yeah.
ahead.
It's
Go
it's
ahead.
literally 1 minute. So, John, I've told you this story before. So I
Okay.
was in an app. It was a DSA housing app, and somebody, I can't remember who, said we need to protect NYCHA residents, and Sia Weaver responded in a very curt way. She said NYCHA residents are the most protected, in a way to like shut down the discourse, to have the final word. And I didn't appreciate that. I don't remember who said that we need to protect NYCHA, but I don't think it deserved that sort of shut down energy. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I don't. These meetings are great, and I think we've explored a lot of things within these meetings. I think it's good to know who we are dealing with. I think it's good to have this discussion, but we also have to really approach them and try to change minds, try to work with them, have discussions. So keep that in mind always when we do open up the floor and have these discussions. But I really appreciate having you, Ramona, Madison. And with that, we're going to move our agenda forward. And we hope you get lots of, if you know anybody that, wants to support it, by all means, forward this letter on. I'm sure Ramona will appreciate that. And right now I'm trying to get your video down in a Zoom meeting. Yeah, we know that. Can't seem to unpin you, Ramona. I don't know why. And remove pin. Here we go. Thanks. That helped
Thank
out a
you.
lot. Yeah. Amie, let me. I see you having a partner with you.
I do, yeah. She's
Uh-huh.
here. I'll lead the conversation, but my colleague Kenya Maldonado is also joining.
Okay, cool. Kenya, hi, nice to meet you. You want to introduce yourselves and I'll let you take it away.
Sure. I'm Amie Pospisil. I'm the COO at Breaking Ground. I've been with Breaking Ground for 17 years, actually. I have a background in social work and been here kind of throughout our growth and evolution. And I'll give a little background on Breaking Ground in just a minute. Kenya?
Hi, good morning. Kenya Maldonado, Vice President of Housing Services at Breaking Ground. Nice to meet everyone. Good morning.
Great. So just to get started a little bit, I'll give a quick background on Breaking Ground for folks who might not know us. We were founded in 1990. Our first project was the Times Square building on 43rd and 8th Avenue. It still stands, as we believe, as the nation's largest supportive housing residence with about 650 units. Since 1990, we've evolved to do a combination of ground up new development, as well as repurposing old hotels and converting them into affordable and supportive housing. So we have a combination of both. All of our buildings essentially are affordable, a combination of affordable and supportive. So roughly half are for low-income folks, community units, and the balance would be for people who are formerly homeless, exiting long histories of homelessness on the street and or in the shelter. Everybody gets a lease in our housing. It's long-term permanent housing, so it's permanent forever and ever. Everybody gets a lease. Our formerly homeless units, people tend to stay on average for about 12 and a half years, which is pretty remarkable length of stay for folks. Especially when we consider that they have about an average of about 8 years length of homelessness prior to coming into those units. Over time, we broadened our scope of work to include not only the development and operation of permanent supportive housing, but also a host of social services programming. So we have a full continuum of services, and folks here we've worked with with John and with others here for a while, because we have the street outreach contract for Midtown, for the area covering Midtown Manhattan. So we've been doing the street outreach work in Midtown Manhattan, all of Brooklyn, all of Queens, since about 2007, a little earlier in West Midtown. And many of the folks that we're working with on the street move through our street homeless programs, our outreach programs, and our transitional housing programs and into our permanent housing units. So that's a really a continuum of care that we're really proud of, and that really works well to be able to have that continuity and knowing people as they've moved through street homeless programs and into permanent housing and with us for the long term. All of our housing has on-site social services attached, so it's really robust on-site social services with case management, social workers, and clinicians, especially in our newer buildings, but also we've been able to kind of back in some of the older buildings as well to bring primary care on-site as well as psychiatry services. So we really aim to bring everything that people need in to remain stably housed in permanent housing for the long term. We aim to bring those services to folks for people who are unable or unwilling to access community-based services. So moving on to the Stewart, this is our newest acquisition. And just a point of clarification, I saw in the earlier agenda, John, Riseboro is not involved in this project. So this was a joint venture with Slate Property Group. We closed on acquisition in December. Slate has done it. They did a different project with Riseboro, which is probably where that came from. But we are the nonprofit developer. We aim to close on construction at the end of this year, at the end of 2026. And the renovation, we expect to take about a couple of years, and then it'll open in 2028. So I thank you for inviting us here, and I'll give you kind of a brief overview. And I also expect and would be happy to come back and provide updates along the way. Since we've got a little bit of time as things take shape and progress, I'd be happy to come back and meet with folks. So the Stewart Hotel, I think folks know it, but it's on the corner of 31st and 7th Avenue. Our plan is to renovate the building and turn it into 579 affordable and supportive units of housing. It'll be a mix of about 82% will be studios and 18% one bedrooms. Half of the units supportive for people exiting homelessness, and the other half will be for low income and affordable community units. And it'll be set at about 60% of AMI is where it's set right now. We will be doing the on-site property management and operations of the building, and also the on-site social services. So Kenya, her team will be the team responsible for providing all of the direct social services at this building. And we're particularly excited given the location. We imagine that many of the folks that we're working with on the street here in Midtown Manhattan will have the opportunity to come inside to the Stewart. There is retail use at the street level and a parking garage, which we expect to continue and have them as tenants. Let me see. So our on-site social services, kind of going back to that for a second, we'll have a full team, and this is a large building, so we will have a lot of staff on site, but a full team of case management staff, clinicians, social workers, and we will be bringing in primary care and psychiatry on site as well for part of the plan. I always like to add too that we have what we call we'd like to think of it as our special sauce of supportive housing. In addition to the kind of more typical array of social services, we also bring a program that we call Tenant 360, which is a kind of a layered on service that we bring into all of our buildings to help even further the reach that we have to connect people, to connect our tenants to community, to bring in recreational programming, some therapeutic programming. We do lots of holiday events, recreational events, things that are building community within, but also building community in the neighborhoods with which they're now residing permanently. So we're excited to bring that as well to this building. We will have 24-hour attended lobby on the 31st Street entrance. So we'll have a very, robust presence there. So all of our buildings have a security guard presence at the front. We'll have CCTV systems, a multi-purpose room and a community room, which will also be available for community meetings. Groups can come in and use that space. And then some of our other typical amenities with computer room, a fitness room, laundry, and so forth. So I will pause and just be mindful of everybody's time and see if anybody has questions or if there's anything that you'd like me to dive into a little bit deeper.
Hey, thanks for that overview. Too bad you didn't grab that Penn Plaza Hotel.
Yeah.
2,000 rooms there.
I know.
Yeah, they just flattened it and wanted to make it a tennis court, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I kind of wanted to know more about, you got your developer slate and of course they're a developer. How did you come by? I guess you're not only managing it, you're owning it, you're
Yes.
guiding exactly what you need. You're working with the architects and so forth. And then the funds for the developer to redevelop this and change this over, of course, is a lot less expensive than building something. So this seems like a no-brainer. And we tried to do this during the pandemic. And if we had gained just even 3 or 4 hotels, we'd probably put a huge dent in the homelessness problem. And this is very, very valuable what you did. Can you, the mechanics of deal, the financing?
Sure. I will admit that I did not bring the detail on the capital stack, so and how we put the financing together for everything. So I will have to ask that I save that for the next one. If you want to invite me back, and I can bring that, or we can follow up and provide you more detail on the specifics of the financing. I should also mention that Slate Property Group is our partner at acquisition and through construction, but we will be the sole owner. They step out of the deal after construction, after it's open, and we'll own it after that. So yeah.
I enjoy your work, what you've done throughout your history there. Maybe you should be taking over public housing, taking not your hands off the public housing, right?
Yeah, boy, it's complicated, isn't it? It's it is complicated. We're really, we're doing what we can in our space and bringing on more housing opportunity for people. We know that I've said for a long time, we're kind of only as good on the street and doing our street outreach work as there are opportunities to get people off the street permanently and into housing. And we operate safe haven transitional housing. So it's a really kind of lower threshold option compared to the traditional shelter system. It has kind of some of the rigidity, like around curfew and things like that, are relaxed a bit in the safe havens to make it more inviting, welcoming, and supportive to people who've been on the street for a really long time, sometimes even decades. And so while we kind of look at it as we need it. We need the safe haven housing right now because there's not enough permanent supportive housing for people to move into. We need the vast majority of the people, almost nearly 100% of the people that we're working with on the street and in our safe havens move into supportive housing, either with Breaking Ground or another provider. And there's just not enough of those units. I think it stands right now that for every 5 applicants of supportive housing, there's one vacancy. And so that doesn't even take into account people that don't have a completed application yet. So we know that there's a real supply issue, and we really look to try and affect that as much as we can. So and this will be our third. So we have the Times Square. We also have the Prince George on 28th between 5th and Madison. Our Christopher building in the old McBurney Y a little bit to the south. So bringing this building in this location is just it's also a nice kind of fold into that part of our portfolio as well, and the size. we now have a handful of buildings that are around this size as well. So it works well, and we're able to get a lot of folks in at the rent up period. Like I said, coming directly from the street, from the area that they're homeless in. So.
Any other and it works in the fire, or you want to hold on that? Speaking
I'm
about
sorry,
those.
say it again.
Any other works in the any other works going on?
We have a building that we expect TCO in the fall. That's a little bit to the north on the east side on 9. It takes up the block on 3rd Avenue between 97th and 98th. It's around the same size, a little bit smaller than this one, but not much. I think it's, don't quote me, but I think 464 is the number. So and we're renting up right now our first permanent supportive housing in Queens, in Jamaica, Queens, and it's a senior residence. So we're in the middle of rent up right now for that. So those are some of our most exciting new projects that we have, and we do have a robust pipeline that's a little further out. So we have about at least 1,500 units in the development pipeline that are a little bit further out.
Okay.
I should also say Kingsborough too, for anybody with some Brooklyn connections. We are part of the development team that's redeveloping the it's the western portion of the Kingsborough Psychiatric Campus, which will include several supportive housing residences that we're developing, operating, and providing services for. Tearing down the two shelters that exist and converting them into brand new state-of-the-art purpose-built shelter design. And then there's a home ownership component that's one of the other development partners, and seniors. So we're busy.
Yeah. So this is the question for both of you. First of all, where would you put the numbers of the homeless count, the homelessness, people who are suffering homelessness?
Oh,
where would you
the
put
count
that
on the
count?
street?
Overall,
I think, well, it's timely that you're asking that question, because we're right on the cusp of doing the annual point in time hope count, which has been a little bit delayed this year because of weather stuff. So we're waiting on that. But last year, I think the count was around 5,000 citywide. It's kind of hovered around there for folks living unsheltered on the street. And I kind of like to think of it as it's one of the ways that we try to understand the number of people living on the street, because there's really not a perfect science to it. So we have to look at a bunch of different data sources, including the point in time estimate, including the data that comes from our street outreach programs, living on the street, and collateral information from folks in the community who may know people that aren't on our radar. So we use kind of all these sources of information. I think it kind of feels like oftentimes it's felt a little bit like the point in time, the annual point in time estimates might be a little bit of an undercount, but again, it's kind of one data point that we use to help understand the problem that we're facing and what to do.
Especially if you do it in the winter, right? In the winter.
Doing it on the coldest night, so we try to capture everybody.
So I'll ask one more question. I'll leave it to see what others will have. Amie and Kenya, what brought you to this work, and how long have you been involved?
Oh boy. Well, I'll start with I came to New York City from the Midwest in the early 2000s for grad school, and wasn't really entirely sure what area of social work I wanted to go into. And I had a couple of field placements in social work school, and then was hired at an organization in the Bronx right out of grad school, doing street homeless outreach work. And it just grabbed me. It really grabs me. I gravitated toward it. And I've stayed with it, kind of ever since. I think, I had some earlier experiences prior to moving out here, doing some work with folks that with housing insecurity, and it was more in like the child welfare system, and seeing that one of the primary barriers to people being able to provide care for their children was inadequate housing. So I think I kind of very early on, that was a connection point for me. And then coming out here for grad school and having that exposure really locked me in. And I've been with it ever since. So
Nice.
yeah.
And Kenya, how about you? Tell me.
So specific to the housing work, I actually went to grad school at Columbia and graduated thinking that I would be just working around families, youth, and children's services. And one of my first jobs out of grad school was working in the shelter, so I was able to understand the system. And then I actually landed an opportunity at Breaking Ground, and I started as an assistant director of their shelter program. And then I went on to do some city government work specific to housing around the CAP system, which is the Coordinated Assessment Placement Systems. So helping to build that system out to capture the most vulnerable people living on the street and in the homeless system. So that was part of my housing work. And then I went on to become an executive director of housing services. So really focusing in on youth who are aging out of foster care around housing. So housing has become my passion, and I would say I'm a product of New York City Housing Authority. So I also grew up in NYCHA, in Harlem. So housing, I feel like everyone should have housing. So housing is an important part of everything. And now here I am back at Breaking Ground as a vice president and hoping to push the housing work. So I just, this is an area that I didn't think that I would love, but I actually do.
Yeah, you remember you helped me with an individual off the street, I believe. I think you were instrumental. Yeah, you were very instrumental, and we had to navigate the system, and we were successful. And I appreciate your support there. I'm glad I always have these friends to reach out to. And does anyone else have questions? It can't be just me here.
I do.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Amie and Kenya, for coming here. My question is colored by the fact that Slate is my landlord. And I am a little shocked that I'm about to say something positive or remotely positive about my landlord. But the whole partnership between you and Slate, and then last year with Riseborough and Slate, really gives me hope because, well, first I should say there is some supportive housing in the building I live in, very few units, like less than 30, but I feel my landlord is taking a more realistic approach to post-COVID New York City with, partnering with Breaking Ground, partnering with Riseborough, doing these much needed conversions. And I'm just impressed by my landlord on that aspect. So I guess I don't really have a question. It's more like, how do you react to that, what I just said?
Yeah, I think, for a long time, we didn't see a lot of kind of for-profit developers and non-for-profit developers and seeing like a real pathway for joint ventures. And it wasn't part of our earlier work at Breaking Ground to do these kinds of partnerships. These pathways, excuse me, have opened up more in recent years, and also for-profit developers doing homeless set-asides in their, affordable portfolio themselves. And bringing supportive units into really large development. I mean, the big names of developers. And I think sometimes there's a reaction of like, oh, I don't know, can we, like, dare I say it here, can we trust it? What is that going to mean if it's not, a nonprofit? I think what I feel really hopeful and optimistic about is that we're helping to shape the landscape and other providers too with for-profit developers about how to do this work and do this work well, and the importance of needing to have more inclusive housing options within their developments and their portfolios, and that there's a way to do it and a way to do it well, and particularly when they're partnering with strong nonprofits who have a background in doing the development work and operating and services, that not only are there kind of these literal joint venture opportunities, but we're advising along the way. And I'm really hopeful that that helps, shape the way that housing development looks and having homeless set-asides looks in, for the future of the city.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Anyone else? We see some hands. I know you got questions. What's your relationship to this administration, by the way? Do you feel like you've got an ear there? You've a good conversation going with this administration?
We're getting to know them. We're getting to know them. I think there's, certainly some folks that have been around from other administrations and departments that we have relationship with. But there's lots of new. So we are kind of at that point right now, building relationships, learning. So I think we will see. But again, we're remaining hopeful and excited about the potential opportunities ahead, but it's early.
Yeah, I think a good conversation on the financials would be really fun. I think I look forward to your next visit on that.
Sure.
Anybody else have questions? Lily, I know you're in the game. You're doing a lot of incredible work with people who are with disabilities.
No questions at the moment, John. Thank you.
Okay. Lily's always coming here. She's been very proactive. And anyone else? Sue? Sue, do you know Sue from Main Chance? Main Chance?
I know Main Chance. Hi, Sue.
Yeah. Maybe she went out for coffee.
Good morning.
Hi, Sue. How are you? Yeah.
I'm well, John. I'm having technical difficulties as always.
Yeah. Good. Always a good person to build relationships. They do some incredible work there. Everything going okay there at the Main Chance?
Yes, everything is
stability-wise?
well. We have 2 warming buses outside to help with the overage because we're full every night.
Yeah.
So
And
for the past couple of days, we've been having 2 buses outside, one for male, those that identify as male and those that identify as female. So that way nobody's out in the cold.
yeah, are they roaming the city? Is that what they're doing?
Say that again?
Are they roaming the city, or are they are they stopped, parked somewhere?
They just parked outside of
Oh,
our
okay.
building. So that way they could come in and use the bathroom, come in and eat when they need to. But they're here 24/7.
Is this administration helping you out? You've got some good support?
Yes, for the past week with the extreme cold, they've been very helpful. So that's
good.
been working out.
Good. We didn't have the help we did, I think, with the last administration, as we should have. Wouldn't you agree with that, Amie?
It was complicated.
Yeah, right.
Part of our challenges is always kind of keeping up with the changes of administration, no matter what they are, and what's new, what's different, what's kind of the same but rebranded, and making sure that we find our way to stay true to to the services that we're providing, and getting the help for folks. And so I think, again, like some of these early days of new administrations are always kind of a time to learn, a time to educate, we hope, and make sure that we're setting ourselves up and the people we serve to get everything we need over the next few years.
Yeah, I remember when when you were transforming the Prince George. I took a tour, and that was pretty impressive. By the way, we do some. I think you know this, but we do some farming projects. We have the urban farm at the Midtown Court. We have a farm upstate, 50 by 100 square feet, that we bring a lot of food down. And we did 3,775 pounds of food we brought down. And we focused on public housing because that's where that was really important to bring the people together and define power, in numbers. I know at one point there was a rooftop we were exploring. I think it was at the Prince George, putting a garden on the rooftop. So if you have any space and any rooftops that you want to explore that with, we'd love to talk to you.
That's great. That'd be great. And would love to think about it for the Stewart and see what the opportunities might be there as well. We had a CSA program at the Prince George for a long time. I think COVID really interrupted it and it's been a little tough to restart, but I'd love to explore that with you. That fits perfectly into our programming.
Yeah, we could probably help you with that. Not only if we've certainly provided enough food last year, we can expand that. Hopefully we're going to expand that. You never know. But we do have a lot of, we're connected with a lot of other CSAs and so forth, and we're speaking. So what was the price point for the?
Oh gosh, shoot. Let me get back to you. I can't remember.
Okay.
Top of my head.
Okay.
I'll get right back to you on that. But thanks. And thank you for bringing up the food insecurity, because that is a real issue for, increasingly problematic for tenants in our building. The formerly homeless tenants have their income is like less than $10,000 a year. And on the low income side, we have some folks that are really at poverty levels, even with rent stabilized housing, it's very tough on their limited income. So we've been doing a lot of work to focus on housing insecurity.
It's amazing.
Food insecurity.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. Especially when you get to the, retiring age and Social Security, just living, if you haven't saved a whole lot. It was amazing about the food insecurity that I see everywhere. I see people lined up at the Hell's Kitchen cupboard. We would pack it; it'd be gone. Everything inside of it would be gone within an hour, it's really a huge problem. Public housing and I'm getting older and my earning power is going to be gone. So that's a huge problem for us all. It's becoming very unlivable, and I like what you're doing. You're combining those aspects, and that's why we focus on health, housing, and food, because those are the basics we need to survive. Miriam, Sandy, anybody have any other questions?
John, I wanted to.
I'm better. I'm better not saying anything. You'll be happy. You'll be happy. You'll be happy that I.
That's not true.
Myself.
Sandy's very boisterous and she's angry, and like we all are, and she
not boisterous. Please forgive me, but not boisterous. Honest.
Honest, yes, I was going to get to that, and she expresses my heart at times, so I don't have to. I can sit passively and let Sandy speak for me at times. Thank you, Sandy.
John, I wanted to thank Molly for pointing out in the chat. I don't want to butcher your last name, Molly, but with regard to the 2026 Hope annual count of street homelessness that was supposed to start tonight at 10 p.m., Molly pointed out that it is canceled and ostensibly postponed.
Yeah. So I think if there's no other questions, I look forward to whenever you want to do a financial discussion and how these mechanics come together. I think that would be a nice discussion, and if there's any way we can support as a community and bring people to support what you're doing, let us know. Any last words, Kenya?
Oh, I just look to continue the conversation. Thank you.
Okay. Any last words from anybody? Any last questions? Okay. Any last words, Amy? Go ahead, Miriam.
Some of the people who may have statistical information about how many of the population of people homeless in the street have physical disabilities, who may have ambulatory difficulties. Any rough idea on that?
I don't have stats, but I will tell you that it's a significant number of people that we work with on the street have mobility issues or other serious health conditions that really limit their ambulation or their mobility. It's a lot.
I'm from the
Uh-huh.
Elevator Action Group and very
Mm.
active in getting accessibility on the buses, on the
Yeah.
subway, and we have MTA approval for two elevators in the subway on 23rd Street and 7th and 8th Avenue. And I was sort of the catalyst to
Mm.
get that started and rolling and get a lot of community support.
That's cool.
Any didn't the shelter double? Has it actually at one point it quadrupled? Do you know where the shelter numbers are?
So they grew. I can look up the census, today's census quickly.
Yeah. I haven't looked at them
I can
lately.
look at it today, but yeah, for sure. And during COVID, they went up exponentially. And with the asylum seeker influx, that we saw the numbers really get huge. Let's see if I can find it.
With the numbers between the people floating in the hospitals and doubling up, living in cars and so forth, I used to argue at least 250,000 in this
Oh.
city. And now I'm thinking it's more like 500,000. Is that a good assumption?
Perhaps we'll have to look. There's definitely some groups putting out some good work around some of those numbers and estimates. So we can take a look at, you know, again, it's another tough one, and doing our work on the street. It's part of the triaging work that we do to help figure out, are you doubled up and sometimes staying on the street here and there when you can't find another, you know, couch to sleep on, if you will. Are you sleeping out? We do engage people that are sleeping in cars, so we always want to know that and engage people living in cars. Percentage of our It's not an enormous percentage of the people we're working with on the street that are living out of cars, but at any given time, you know, we might have a per borough, maybe in our outreach teams, like maybe 10 or so households living out of vehicles. But it's entirely possible. You know, those are much easier to fly under the radar of things. People who are couch surfing or doubled up and living out of cars. So
In the hospitals.
and in hospitals, yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We've got some growing partnerships. We actually have a partnership with New York Presbyterian, uptown and downtown. We're doing work there with them to engage people who are homeless, both who are admitted to their units, but also people who are they're kind of going into the emergency rooms for social needs and purposes, or maybe they're going in for healthcare, but then they stick around the emergency room.
Yeah.
You know, they don't have another place to go.
I think Mount Sinai did it. We were in touch with Mount Sinai, and we had a report some years ago, and I think it was like about 1815 to 1800. Does that sound reasonable? Yeah.
It could be.
Yeah.
It
And granted that with the tentativeness of people who live in rent-controlled, rent-stabilized, and housing the way it is, the number of housing we need is probably, I mean, we're looking at what, 900 and something rent stabilized, rent controlled, and they're diminishing. Is it sensible to say we need, you know, 500 new 500,000 new apartments a year?
Yeah, when you factor in the, you know, replacement,
Yeah, maybe more.
maybe.
Yeah.
I dropped it in the
Okay.
chat, the daily shelter stats if people want
Shelter
to
stat.
get it. Mhm.
Oh, chat. Sure, I can pop. Coalition. Oh, the Coalition from the Homeless. Is that the one? Oh, you have
Yeah,
Chrome
from
extension.
Department of Homeless Services. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
they
Yeah.
publish it daily.
Oh, it's yeah, I can't click on it apparently, but I could. That's the Chrome extension. Something about New York Gov. Yeah,
Oh,
it's okay. I can't click on it,
got
but
it.
that's okay.
Well, we have 80, a little over 86,000 as of Sunday, the data from Sunday.
Uh-huh. How much was that? Say it again. 86,000.
Yeah, a little over that.
Yeah,
Families with
it's
children. Let's see, families with children, 56, single adults 25. Yeah.
makes you cry, right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
okay. Well, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
I think we can conclude this agenda item, and we look forward to seeing you again. And I'm gonna.
Thanks for having us. We look forward to joining again.
Yeah, great.
Okay.
Okay.
Take care.
All right. Okay. All right. So this is a little bit of a less pressured meeting. We usually have it so jam packed, and I thought it was a nice conversation. We got to spend some time with Amie and Kenya. And let me see if there's anything else. Does anybody have any announcements? Any last words? Let me see if I have anything to announce. Again, if you about the letters, we have a letter from Safe Section 9, which you just saw a presentation. We have a letter from the Chelsea Public Housing Coalition. We have FEC is that's Fulton Elliott Chelsea Against Demolition they put out their letter. If there's anything you can help there, that'd be great. Miriam, thanks. I've seen your name in the donation, by the way, in the donation in the GoFundMe donation. That's very kind of you. Again, I need some participants on the board. I need somebody to help with the street sheets. I need to update those. So anybody with interest in even doing some projects with us, that would be really helpful. And if there's no other announcements or any other last words,
There's one more announcement, John.
Go ahead.
The Coalition to End Apartment Warehousing is having their monthly meeting on this Thursday at 1 p.m. I'm going to put the email into the chat. Well, it'll be their email plus my email. And we began in late 2020 to fight apartment warehousing, which is the intentional non-renting of apartments. Our goal is not to make warehousing illegal because we know that's not realistic, but we do, and we have some wins to prove it. We do like to make it harder for landlords to do the precursors to warehousing and anything that makes warehousing financially beneficial to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. And Madison, your point's well taken. The letter, anybody sign on. I think we should somehow, I don't know, I think we're reaching out for a meeting with Mamdani, and we'll let you know how that goes. And I think it would be good for us all to bring our points to the mayor together, if we can kind of work that out. I think all these points that we have in our letters are very important, and we hope we can all work together here to achieve our goals with protecting public housing and building better housing. Okay, with that, I'll say goodbye, and I look forward to seeing you next month. And we'll leave it at that. Let's stop recording.